The Disneyland Limited, now leaving for a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom. All passengers board.
Star Tours announces the boarding of the Endor Express. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas. To those guests who've just joined us, welcome. For those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails throughout our journey and stay clear of the door.
Please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the train and remain seated at all times. Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
I am Sam, the American Eagle, and I am proud to introduce the Grand Circle Tour podcast, a celebration of Disney parks, but mostly the American ones. I really like these guys.
Hello, Grand Circle Tour passengers, and welcome to another exciting adventure. I hope everyone had a great 2018 as we're starting our very first episode in 2019. And what a show we have for you tonight with a very, very special guest. But before we get into that, let me introduce my co-host this evening. We have the man, and I say he's the man because his name rhymes with the man. We have Dan. Dan, what's up?
What's up, George? How's it going?
It's going good. How's 2019 treating you so far?
Well, we're only a couple days in, but so far I've had a birthday already. So
that's right. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. So I'm off to a good start.
Nice.
I have a quick waltz up today, but it's not going to be Disney related. It's going to be our podcast related. We've been promoting our sweepstakes, our contest here for a brand new Splash Mountain Pop that I have here, and I have a bunch of names in this little bucket in front of me, and I felt like maybe this would be a good time to sit and pick the winner. What do you guys think?
I say
all right.
Good.
So I'm going to stick my hand in.
Good luck, passengers.
Let's see who's the winner. The winner is Bill Bolger, Bolger. Bill, congratulations.
Woo!
I'll send you a message, and I'll get your address, and I'll ship that out to you. So congratulations, Bill.
Nice. And going to our, and I have to say it, our queen of sparkle and shine and churros. We have
churros. Hi, how are you guys?
Doing good. Waltz up with you.
Waltz up. Well, I had a waltz up, but then I woke up and I had a new waltz up because surprise, surprise, guys, Disneyland has once again raised prices overnight. No speculations. Nothing. This usually happens in February, and it happened overnight. Now, the most expensive annual pass went from, $1,579, and this is the Premier Pass, to a whopping 23% increase, of $1,949 now.
Whoa.
$2,000. And all tickets rose about 10% across the board as usual. They're offering California people a ticket to go to Disneyland for a substantial amount of less right now until May. So now that Bob Iger has announced that Star Wars Land will be opening in June, we kind of figured this was going to happen. We just didn't expect it to happen overnight. Yeah. So my kids are at Disneyland with my parents as we speak. I couldn't go. I'm so sad, but they're enjoying it, having a great time, and they'll be there tomorrow and the next day. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And now we move on to our special guest. We have Christopher joining us for this trip around the Magic Kingdom.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And for everyone who doesn't know but is part of the Disney community and is involved with YouTube, Christopher is also known as having his channel as Orangegrove55. So, Christopher, waltz up.
Waltz up. So my waltz up is Bob Iger's interview with Barron's. He did this interview. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he did this interview with Barron's saying that basically people only care about IP franchises, and the nondescript rides don't matter as much. He kind of threw a little bit of a jab to at what's it called, Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, kind of saying like, because it doesn't have an IP, people don't find it as interesting. So that's my waltz up today. I thought that was kind of an interesting headline this week. That
definitely was, because I jump on Twitter frequently throughout the day, and it just blew up like everywhere. Yeah. And my waltz up actually has, as Mindy had mentioned, that they announced that there is speculation that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge will be opening in June, as probably the big surprise of the hike increase in the tickets. So kind of staying on the subject of Galaxy's Edge, and I know, Mindy, that you're not too familiar with the Star Wars universe. I know Stan and your husband tried getting you into the franchise, but she's hiding.
Okay. I have a confession to all my Disney peeps. I have never seen a Star Wars film.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I don't get them. I've tried. My husband will shame me. I try to sit through them. I get all the characters, but I cannot follow it to save my life. Like, I don't understand what's going on. I ask more questions while watching it and watching the film. So it just completely loses me.
What, did you start with the original trilogy, or did you start with the
which is
films?
I think this is what confuses me. I watched part 1, which is part 3 or
4.
Oh, 4. Telling me 4. See? That right there just throws me off. And then I watched part 1, which is part 7. And that one, I think we watched that in the theater like a long time ago when that one came out, and it lost me. I was like, I don't get it, and I just have never sat through them. I can't sit through them. I am not a huge Star Wars fan. I'm not so excited that it's coming to my home park, Disneyland. Shun me, shoo me, I don't know, throw fire at me, but I am not a big Star Wars fan. I think it's cool that it's such an immersive land that they're building, but I know all the characters, don't get me wrong. I love Star Tours. I know all the characters, guys. Don't think I don't, but I just don't understand the film. Like, my son Caden called up today and talked to my husband. He's like, wouldn't it be just so awesome if they did this on the ride? And he was naming all these characters, and he's like, something about Hoth. And I'm like, I have no idea. You're speaking a different language to me. So there you go. I've never seen Star Wars.
Wow.
Yeah.
So on that note, let me ask you guys, because Christopher, you had mentioned in your latest video that Disney announced that Galaxy's Edge will not, this is just the beginning of having Star Wars, integrated into the parks. Now, do you guys feel, and Mindy, I'm still going to ask for your opinion, so be ready. Do you think that since Disneyland and Walt Disney World are going to have Galaxy's Edge, do you think Disneyland should have had an entirely separate world of Star Wars as opposed to having the same as Disney World?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Dan, can you talk that?
So, see, I don't know. I don't want to. I feel like if I disagree with Mindy, she's gonna like reach through the screen.
No, I'm
right
now. No,
but,
I'm good.
No, I guess I'm okay with it. I mean, Mindy, why are you not so okay with it? Besides the fact that it's ruining your dear home park.
Okay. Here's why.
Brace yourself, passengers. Here we go. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Mindy rant is coming on. Okay. At Walt Disney World, it's a whole different experience. You go there, you fly out of the country, you fly out of the state.
Basically.
I fly across the country. And I go there to experience completely different attractions. Okay. Very little are the same. Star Wars, we even have Star Tours. Star Wars is being built, these two lands, and they're identical. I'm not a fan. And people are like, oh, they need to build a Cars land in Walt Disney World. Let's ask you that. How would you feel if they replicated that? Like, what's so special about that? I just feel like they could have come up with something else. And instead of just duplicating it, like, here's the blueprints, let's save some money instead of going back into the drawing board and thinking of something else.
I do agree with you in that sense, because as far as like when you mentioned Cars Land, when I go to Disneyland, that's one of the main attractions I look forward to, because we don't have that in Florida.
Because you don't have it.
I like the different experiences that, you have a different, feel, a different say. But Christopher, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree with you guys. It would have been really cool if they would have built maybe two different planets, one here in Anaheim and one in Florida. I understand why they did it the way they did it, because building two of the same is cheaper and, research and development and what have you. So building these identical lands was, much more, fiscally sound, I guess you want to call it. But creatively, I think it would have been better to have two different unique lands. One thing I do want to add, though, and I mentioned this in my last video, I think that Disney is going to take a similar approach with Star Wars that Universal is taking with Harry Potter, in that multiple parks will have different Star Wars lands. Like, we had, I think it was, now I'm not familiar with the Harry Potter universe too much, but I think we had the original Wizarding World is what, Hogsmeade, right?
Yes.
And then
yep.
and then they built the Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley, correct.
And I think Disney's going to do that with Star Wars. We might see a different planet show up in another park down the road. Yeah, I do understand why they had the duplicate lands initially, because it's just cheaper to do it that way. But it would have been cooler to have two separate, different, unique experiences.
And I totally agree with that, Christopher. I agree with you 100%. I would not, if it were different, I'd be more excited about it. But they're not. They're exactly the same, and I'm not very excited about that. It's bringing, and the fact that it's bringing a whole different caliber of people to the parks.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to bring a completely different type of person. And I don't know.
But I think maybe I'm just the optimist here, but I don't necessarily know if that's a bad thing all the time. I know that, I think it was Stan that was talking about how he listens to a lot of Star Wars podcasts that never talked about Disney parks ever before, Disney acquired them. And now that's all they talk about. And now not only do they talk about Star Wars, but they're starting to talk about theme parks and things like that. And, I don't know. I think that Mindy, you're probably in the minority, in my opinion, of the type of fan, because I think most Disney fans at least have seen the Star Wars movies, and probably a lot of them are fans too.
I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. I just am not going to sit through 12 hours of films to learn what Hoth is, or learn what, I know what an AT-AT is, but I just don't need to know the size of its legs. Like, I'm not that nerdy. Like, I'm okay not knowing that kind of stuff, or the buttons that are in the Millennium Falcon. I don't need to know those things. I'm excited to drive it. I know what it is. Like I said, I know all the characters. I know what the the planets are. I know what they are. I'm just not that type of person to geek out over it, and I'm okay with that. But Disneyland's already crowded.
I hear ya.
Disneyland is not very big. Walt Disney World is miles and miles and miles and miles big. They have the room. Disneyland does not. Disneyland didn't have it before, and they shoehorned it in, and now it's going to be packed every single day, more so than it was ever before.
But can I play devil's advocate here in regards to the crowding issues? I think that I think if Disney goes into these projects with the mindset that, well, it's going to be too crowded, I think that kind of limits it kind of stifles creativity a little bit, you know, because I mean, I think back to like Indiana Jones Adventure, you know, it was it were like 8-hour waits and stuff to go into that attraction. And those wait times eventually wane and they eventually go down, and we're left with this incredibly immersive, awesome attraction. I think there's something to be said about Star Wars Land having that same kind of situation where, yeah, the first 6 months, maybe even a year, it's going to be crazy, but eventually it'll wane, and we're stuck with this gorgeous area afterwards. You know, I don't know.
Totally agree with that. I do. I totally agree with that, because it's going to be busy, and everybody from Walt Disney World is going to come to Disneyland because ours is opening first, and it's going to close the parks every single day. But and I love Disneyland. Don't get me wrong, you guys. I'm just trying. I guess how I feel about it, I don't want to be a pessimist, but they're raising prices again overnight because of Star Wars Land. Yeah. They're building another entire parking garage at Disneyland because of Star Wars Land. They ixnayed a 5-star diamond hotel, and the whole idea was because of Star Wars Land. So they know that these droves of people are going to come, and they're going to pay whatever it takes. Yeah. And I don't want to say fake fans, because my daughter uses this word fake fans. She loves Billie Eilish, and that's a singer, but she's gotten pretty popular lately. But my daughter's loved her since SoundCloud, okay? I've gone to Disneyland since I was 3. I am not a fake fan, and I am a diehard Disneyland fan. And maybe because I protect it and I'm so adamant about my park, and it's just being taken over. And I'm a little bitter about it.
No, that's definitely a fair point. That's definitely a fair point. You know, this area is gonna change that park forever. There's no doubt about that, for sure.
See, I look at it, Mindy, exactly what you just said. I look at it the other way. I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I get it. I'm a Disney World guy. I'm over on the East Coast, so we have a lot more land, and I get that part. But just speaking about bringing the quote-unquote fake fans into the park, I have a bunch of friends that are not Disney fans at all, right? They look at me a little crazy when I tell them I host a Disney podcast, right? But they are Star Wars fans, and they are very intrigued about Star Wars Land coming to Disney World, so much so that, you know, we've already planned the trip. You know, we are going as a guy trip, you know, and I'm going to be bringing my friends who have not been to Disney World since they were younger. And to me, that's exciting because I get to share my love of the parks with them. And yeah, of course, they're only going because of Star Wars, but hopefully I can show them what else there is about Disney and why we all love it so much.
It's a great point.
Here's my take on it. I feel that, I mean, Star Wars is its own caliber as far as having its own fan base and everything, but I think for Disney to stay ahead of the crowd and keep up with the competition, that they want to find a property that they can get everyone and their grandmother to go to, you know, especially since forgive me for saying this, passengers, the theme park that must not be named, you know, brought in Harry Potter. And, you know, it gave Disney a run for its money. So I think Disney had a bite back. And yeah, I think just like even with Pandora at Animal Kingdom, that a lot of people haven't even seen the movie. And yet flocks of people go into this land, not necessarily because they're a fan of the movie, but just the immersion that this land takes, with the floating rocks and the flight of passage and the Navi River journey boat ride, just like the whole escape into another world. And I think that's where their aim was, just to take people on a completely different type of vacation, and then on top of, getting as many people as they can there, adds more dollar to the bank. So,
yeah, I mean, George, just to add on that point, I think, listen, we're not ashamed to say it. We love Universal here too. We just love Disney a little more. But I'm a big Harry Potter fan, and let's face it, competition is a good thing when it comes to this.
Oh, definitely. It definitely keeps you on your toes. I mean, it makes you strive to fight on more because
Sure.
Definitely.
I mean, when Universal announced the Nintendo Land, I was like freaking out. Like my 10-year-old Dan was like, "What?"
Well, yeah, and we probably wouldn't have gotten a Galaxy's Edge if not for Universal. I mean,
agree.
It was Wizarding World that really sparked that whole thing, I think,
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Now, excuse me. Christopher, let me ask you, because there were several videos that you had mentioned this, and when I saw this post on Twitter, I immediately thought of you, because now Sleeping Beauty Castle is finally getting some love. Yes. with a refurbishment. I mean, is this long overdue? I mean, it should have came sooner.
Yes, and I'm going to say something that is probably the unpopular opinion here, but I know a lot of people love these like holiday overlays and what have you, but they do a lot of damage, to the existing structures, whether it be the castle or even Small World. I've seen a lot of damage since they started doing Small World Holiday to the facade, and these facades take a big beating, and I would almost rather them not do the overlays if they can't do them without destroying the original structures. I know that's kind of blasphemy to say, because I know everyone loves it, and I love the holidays at Disneyland as well. But it's sad to see, the castle in such terrible shape because they keep messing with the rooftops, and stuff is falling off because they're moving things around. So yeah, this is This is welcome news. I'm so glad that they're beautifying the castle. It needs it, especially after the 60th. Whatever they did to those rooftops during the 60th, I mean, they really took a beating. So yeah, this is great news. I can't wait to see how it looks when it's all done.
Mindy, Dan, what do you guys think? Like, as far as like Sleeping Beauty Castle getting a refurb, and also more so just like the type of way that they decorate and dress things up, do you think that they should have like a different approach on it?
I was sitting here listening to Christopher, and I truth be told, I've only been to Disneyland once, and that was 20 years ago. So I can't really compare the castle to what it used to look like or what it currently looks like. But I'm surprised to hear that, because I've never actually noticed that that the facade takes that much beatings. But it does make sense now that you say that, right? I mean, think about like when you put stuff on the walls in your home, like how, how much beating it takes. So yeah, I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah. I would think like, okay, so my daughter is now sick now. She'll be 17 in a couple weeks, but she's been going to Disneyland. She's been to Disneyland over 100 times. And when we started going, that was when Paul Pressler was in charge, and Disneyland went downhill. Like, you walk down Main Street and the castle was so faded, it almost looked white.
And what year was this, Mindy?
2002, between 2002 2005. Right. The park was just in disarray. And you fast forward and you come to this fruition where they were trying to give away tickets. I mean, they were trying to get people to come to the parks. You talk about a slow season and there was a busy season. There was such a thing. And the hotels across the street, I remember getting them for $32 a night. $32, okay?
Wow.
All the time. Where we stay was $32, and now it's like $189. I've watched this park over my life grow, And hearing Christopher's point of view, I totally agree that Disneyland does take a beating, but I've also watched them and the cast members take spectacular care of Disneyland Park. They constantly are repairing things at that park. And that's a big thing. The difference between Disneyland and Walt Disney World, Disneyland has a very big genre of us annual pass holders who almost take pride in our park. That's our park. Don't harm it. If it's dirty, we're going to let you know. And if it's hurt and damaged, you're hurting our souls. So they know, and that's why they do the flips there more so than at Walt Disney World, because they have to have us keep coming back. We want things that are different every season. We want to see things new. And like at Disneyland, the Christmas party is completely included. Like I just went a couple weeks ago with my family and they're back there again. But it's fun to see that and not have to pay for it and not see the park in disarray. I think the overlays are fabulous at Disneyland, and it's my favorite time to go. Christmas at Disneyland, if you haven't been, you need to go.
No, I agree with that. It's surreal. I mean, I've never seen so many grown men cry on Main Street during the fireworks and the snow. It's incredible.
True. It is my favorite Christmas song ever. Like I play just that Believe in Holiday Magic over and over, and my kids are like, turn it off. I just cry. I love it. I love the end. When it starts to snow, I always cry. And my husband always looks at me like, oh, you're crying again. Yeah. So it's magical. There's nothing like snowing on Main Street. I put a YouTube video. If you want to go to my page, guys, you can watch me crying on Main Street. It's on there. But yeah, I know Walt Disney World has that, and I love it. I love Christmas time at Disney. It's so magical.
Definitely. Well, passengers, we're going to take a very short break as we invite you to stick around and enjoy a little treat that we put together for you in honor of having Christopher on, or also known as Orangegrove55, who's joining us for this ride, the ride this evening. So we'll see you in a bit.
Many times stories start out by saying, once upon a time. That usually means a story happened yesterday, or last week, or last month, or last year, or many years ago. Our story is different. It's once upon a now. As you listen to it and look at the pictures in your book, through the miracle of your imagination, it will be happening to you now. Our story is about a bird unlike any bird you've ever seen or heard about before. He's an orange bird, and his song tells all about him. Little orange bird, in the sunshine tree, won't you think of something sunny just for me? Think of funny thoughts, or a sunny word, that will make me happy, little orange bird. He thinks beautiful orange pictures and beautiful orange words, though his little beak can't even peep a squeak. All the thoughts he ever spoke appear in orange smoke. That's what makes the orange bird unique. Little orange bird, in the sunshine tree, won't you think of something sunny just for me? Think of funny thoughts, or a sunny word, that will make me happy, little orange bird. When you're just ending or gonna be feeling blue, you can use a little orange thought or two. When you start in blushing pink or your temper turns you red, that's when the orange bird can see you through. Little orange bird, in the sunshine tree, won't you think of something sunny just for me? Think of funny thoughts, or a sunny word, that will make me happy, little orange bird. With his beautiful orange feathers and beautiful leafy wings, he's a fluffy little puppy sight to see. He can turn your frowns around when you see him looking down, the orange bird up in the sunshine tree. Little orange bird, in the sunshine tree, won't you think of something sunny just for me? Think of funny thoughts, or a sunny word, that will make me happy, little orange bird. Little orange bird, in the sunshine tree, won't you think of something sunny just for me?
All right, welcome back, passengers. We hope you enjoyed that little song that we put together for you in honor of having Christopher on with us. Again, also known as Orangegrove55 through the YouTube world. Now I have another question for you guys, and this proclaims to both Walt Disney World and Disneyland. Do you guys feel that the subject of alcohol in the parks is getting a little more out of hand? Not saying take it away completely, but do you think that Disney's handling it well? Do you think that they need to pull back some?
Well, I'm actually okay with alcohol in the parks for a couple of reasons. Because first of all, they allow it at California Adventure. They allow it at Downtown Disney. Everything in the Anaheim Resort is so close. It's within walking distance. So you can have a few drinks and walk into Disneyland. So what's the difference, On top of that, I think that most fans are at issue with it because Walt said he didn't want alcohol in his parks. But in my opinion, I think that was an opinion of a bygone era. Much like how smoking was allowed throughout the parks. And that whole situation has changed drastically now. You can barely smoke in the parks aside from a few areas. I think alcohol is the same kind of situation. I mean, as a society, we change, and I think it's socially acceptable to do it now. And I think Walt was one of those guys where he would have evolved with the times, and I really have no problem with it. And even if it's symbolic, Club 33 serves it. So the symbolism kind of goes out the window anyway, because that's in the park. So I have no problem with alcohol at Disneyland. I mean, to me, as long as the cast members, are there controlling it and not letting anyone get out of hand, I'm fine with it. And every time I've been to the park, the cast members do a phenomenal job with that. So yeah, no issues here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Christopher. And I was thinking about this last time I was in Epcot, and I remember about 10 years ago when I used to go to Disney, Epcot was the day I was going to drink. Like, that's just how it was, right? Because that's where you drank. You drank around the world. I was a little younger back then, obviously. And I'll never forget this. This is a funny story. I'm walking, I don't know, you know how there's a couple little hills when you walk around the World Showcase, and there was a family that was obviously leaving the parks, and I'm walking towards them, and the father was chugging his beer to finish the beer, and he's had his son in a stroller, and he lets the stroller go, and as he has his head up drinking, the stroller just continues to go down the hill. And I just remember saying to myself, holy cow, when I have kids, like, I'm never doing this.
Oh my God.
But that's how it was back then. And I'm not saying like when Food and Wine comes that you don't see people get out of hand still. But what I think is that as they have expanded, especially like in Animal Kingdom, there's a couple cool bars there. It's no longer like the day that I'm gonna go get hammered at Disney World. You know, like that's not. I don't really think that Epcot's known for that too much anymore. The other thing is like it's not like a place you go for spring break. You're not drinking every single day on your 7-day vacation here. So you can have a drink here and there. You know, it's a little bit better than just getting hammered at Epcot.
I'm going
What do
to
you
have
think,
to
Mindy?
disagree with that. I think Epcot has become let's get real. The Food and Wine Festival is almost all year long now. It used to be just the fall, and now it's become, it like starts so early and it keeps on going, and now you play games and do drinks around the world and wear shirts, and they sell shirts and you check them off, and you see so many drunk people falling over themselves coming out of Epcot, out of all places.
But Mindy, I think the point, my point was is that happened 10 years ago. You know, that happened 20 years ago when I was going.
Yeah.
I had a shirt 20 years when I turned 21. You know, I had the shirt. I just, you know, I feel like it's more.
You just didn't have the stroller.
Now have the stroller.
I mean, you've got guys crawling up the Mexico Pavilion now.
That was crazy.
Bridges and into the water. I mean, it happens. People are going to get drunk. Yeah. But at Disneyland, I don't drink, so I really don't care. I think it's so funny. But at Disneyland, I don't care. Like, bring it on. If that's what they want to do and have a good time, I don't expect them to slosh it all over me. I mean, do you remember the days? And I was talking to my husband about this. It wasn't too long ago. I remember, I think I was 16 years old. So here's my mom and I in line to go on Splash Mountain, and these teenagers are behind us smoking in line in the tunnels going down to get on the attraction. And we were like, kind of laughing at them, but you could do that then. And Christopher kind of mentioned that things progress, things move in time, and as progression goes. I know Disneyland didn't have alcohol except for Club 33, and now they do. So I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Well, Mindy, I have to say after that statement, I'm going to have to make you a shirt that says "Don't slosh it all over me."
Don't slosh it all. Whatever you do, don't slosh your drinks all over me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, especially like with Epcot, I think that, you know, with World Showcase, it was always that notion of, you know, with the countries in Germany having the beer garden and everything, that people went there to drink because at the time Magic Kingdom wasn't serving alcohol. And then when Be Our Guest came, that kind of changed the rules and everything. But I also think that they're also still trying to balance Epcot, like in the moment, like with the expansion and the upgrades of, you know, adding more family-friendly attractions, like with Ratatouille and the Guardians of the Galaxy coaster and everything. So I think as long as you have a good balance of moderation, you know your limits, and Disney, you know, takes a good hold on that, I don't really see a problem of having alcohol in the parks.
Yeah, and plus the pricing.
Yeah.
Plus the pricing kind of keeps people from drinking too much anyway.
How much is that beer?
Well, then you take a couple back, and then you go to buy something, and then when you come to, it's like, oh, I didn't know they had 2 extra zeros added onto that.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a little story. If you guys could see behind my shoulder here, I know passengers you can't see, but they can see. I have this Frontierland sign up here. That was a let's say I was a little intoxicated in Disney Springs when that was purchased. And it was a surprise to me when I got home and it was sitting on my doorstep. And I'm like, did I buy this?
That's funny.
Were you surprised at purchasing it, or were you surprised at the price?
So here's the thing. I have my Disney Visa card, and it's like at the points. So I was smart enough to at least use that card. So technically I guess it was free, but the price, I was like, what?
That's funny.
I want to get your guys' opinion on attractions, like of how Disney is looking into the future with the rides and everything, and possibly with, with a possible Fantasyland expansion. And Lord knows, I think we all agree that both Tomorrowlands need a facelift. I mean, it's time. It is time. So do you guys feel that, especially, and I guess what I'm getting at is, because I watched the video of Tokyo Disneyland getting the Beauty and the Beast land and the new attraction, and those animatronics blew me away if you haven't seen the video. With Belle and the Beast and the ride system, that to me takes me back to the classic Disney attraction. I like to see more of that than screens. That's just personally me. Now, Flight of Passage, I love that ride no matter what. You no matter how you roll the dice, Flight of Passage is one of my favorite rides at Walt Disney World. But I tend to go more towards attractions, whether it's a thrill ride, a dark ride, what have you. I like more of the animatronic side than a screen, or even have a mixture of both. But I wanted to get your guys' opinion on what you prefer. Christopher?
Well, I agree with you, George. I actually prefer the physical attractions where they have, the animatronics and the real sets. I love that. I absolutely love that. I do think that, we'll see, animatronics similar to what Tokyo is getting with the Beauty and the Beast attraction. I think they will utilize that technology in other parks for sure. I don't know if we'll get that exact ride. Probably not. They probably won't clone it. But, we'll probably see, a similar attraction pop up in Disneyland when they expand their Fantasyland, utilizing, that same technology. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, you can't beat that classic Disney dark ride feel. I will say though, some of the screen attractions that Disney has done where they kind of mix the two, like the Pirates of the Caribbean at Shanghai, I do like that a lot. I do like those kind of attractions a lot where they take a little bit of both. I think that's really interesting. But yeah, if I were to pick one though, I'd rather have the traditional dark ride with the animatronics. Absolutely. I think they age better too. I think over time they age better.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the attraction. Forgive me, passengers, but Soarin' is that prime example of, when attraction just keeps on going, like with the video and the screens and everything, it can get kind of choppy.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think most Disney fans will tell you they love the dark rides more. That being said, though, I think that the thrill rides have their place, and if you're bringing a typical family of four, let's say, you need to have those thrill rides also to keep the children entertained. Not saying I don't love thrill rides too, I do, but if you thinking about just two new attractions in my mind right now, the Mickey's Runaway Railroad and like Tron, right? And what are you guys more excited about? Because I think if you ask more Disney fans, they would say like the Runaway Railroad is what we're more excited about, even though Tron's going to be amazing. It looks awesome.
I am curious about Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, especially since it's going to be the very first attraction involving Mickey Mouse. Everyone is part of the intellectual. I cannot speak tonight. IP. I'll just say IP passengers. Attractions that Mickey is finally getting his very own. But as far as like the thrill junkie inside of me, I can't wait for Tron.
Yeah.
And Mindy, what do you think? What's your take?
I love the classic Disney. I think they, and Christopher was talking about his waltz up today with Bob Iger saying all these IPs are the way to go. I'm going to disagree with that. I I'm tired of them slapping on IPs to all these attractions. Like, go back to the classics. If they're going to change anything in like plus rides and attractions, great. Take out all gut Peter Pan. We've had this discussion, and put some amazing animatronics in there. Okay. Just plus it. Take that attraction and plus the heck out of it. Look what they did to, oh my gosh, California Screamin'. It is epic as Incredicoaster. It's so much fun. It's a hoot. It's so funny, and the queue line is spectacular. I know that's IP as far as Disney goes and putting that brand on it, but it does still have Disney, and it's a Disney movie, but it is amazing. I feel like how he was like, oh, bashing Expedition Everest. That's so sad because I love Expedition Everest. It's so immersive, and I'm all about immersive. That's more so of my take on things. If it's immersive, I'm all up for it.
And if you actually think about it, if you actually look deep into the Disney history, that before Pirates of the Caribbean became an IP of its own, it was an original attraction. The Haunted Mansion still going on to this day as an original attraction. And I think a lot of people don't really recognize it through the subconscious mind that they're just in line because it's the Haunted Mansion, or it's Pirates of the Caribbean, we have to do it. It's classic Disney. But I don't really think a lot of people notice if it's an IP or an original attraction. I just think if it's something immersive, as you said, Mindy, and it grasps you and it captures your attention, I think at the end of the day, if it has good storytelling, don't mess with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And George, you brought up an interesting point where you said that, they had there was an original concept with pirates and Haunted, and they made them into movies, right?
Yes.
I'm surprised that Disney hasn't taken that approach more often and kind of reverse engineered this stuff. We see so much like, them taking the movies and making them attractions. I'm surprised they haven't done the opposite, where they make a original attraction and then they come up with movie and TV shows based on that. I'm surprised they haven't tried that and reverse engineered it. They don't seem to really, I don't know if they're not interested in that or maybe it's too risky, but I think that would be pretty cool.
But Christopher, it's happening. It's already happening. They're already doing a Jungle Cruise attraction with The Rock. Or a movie, excuse me. And it's going to be epic. I'm so excited. I'm going to be right there and watch it. I love Jungle Cruise. Like, that's my go-to attraction. Now, if they can figure out how to do a movie out of Storybook Land canal boats, I'll amen to that. Like, I'll be first in line.
but let's face it, not all of them are hits, right? Who can forget the great movie Haunted Mansion movie, right?
With Eddie Murphy.
So maybe that's a reason why they're not doing it as much. I was happy when I heard that they were going to go back into it with the Jungle Cruise movie. I was very excited about that, and I'm happy that they seem to be going all in by getting someone like The Rock.
Yes, and that's kind of where that movie, The Haunted Mansion, flopped. They could have done it so much better. It just was a low budget film, and I foresee that coming full circle. I think it's going to happen again, and they're going to make it better. I really feel like that's the future, that they're going to push these reverse engineering movies on us, and it's going to be fantastic because
I hope
they want these attractions, and Star Wars, they're turning that, but all these movies that we're watching, they want us to come to Disney and somehow tie it to Disney. And I think it's happening.
And with that teaser trailer with the Jungle Cruise, just as starting off on the gate, like the set just looked phenomenal. So, if it's based on, if they did it, if they made a good script, they already have the cast, The Rock, Emily Blunt, if they can pull it in with a good script, I think they could, now, do you guys think that they should just leave the Jungle Cruise alone if the movie is a success?
Well, that's the fear, right? They definitely will not do that, though. They are going to change the Jungle Cruise if it's successful.
Don't put The Rock and Jungle Cruise next to My Trader Sam, okay?
I mean, they could try to do an animatronic of The Rock, but I don't know if the biceps will hold with the
I think the bigger question is, are they going to be like jokes like the backside of water in the movie?
Oh, it will be.
You think so?
That is going to be there. Definitely.
I hope so. I hope so.
There's going to be only a few of us will like really laugh though.
I think honestly they're going to have more subtle adult jokes in there that we'll understand, but the kids won't. Like, it'll still proclaim to kids where kids can laugh and have fun with it, but I think they're going to throw some like small little adult jokes in there.
You know, one thing that I'm really curious about is the Walt Disney Company, when it comes to like original attractions, they seem much more willing to do so with their international parks. You know, we've seen it with like Mystic Manor,
things
right, like that. I wonder what the hesitation is. They obviously feel like there's a market outside of the U.S. I wonder why they don't feel like their domestic parks will get into it. It's really weird to me.
I personally feel that they're at the moment, and I know this may sound horrible, that the international parks are almost like the guinea pigs of the company to really see if it's a flop or a success. Like even with Tron, I mean, yes, it is an IP. It was based off of I think 1982. I think that's when the movie came out, the original. But, you know, no one really thinks of Tron anymore up until Shanghai had the light cycle coaster, and it's just like Tron came back. I mean, aside from having the Tron Legacy movie, but I mean, they were supposed to make a third one, but they didn't. And now, you know, with all this that happened in Shanghai, now they're bringing Tron domestically, you know, to the domestic parks. That I think it's almost like a guinea pig move on the international parks, and then say, oh, this is popular, this will work, let's bring it over to the US.
Yeah.
Now, before we go, I have one last question for you guys, and this actually doesn't involve anything in the parks. This is in the year of 2019. We just started. Disney and the movies are going to be big this year.
Yeah.
What are your guys' take on as far as like with the live action remakes of all these classic Disney attractions? Because, you know, we're all going to see them anyway, but yet at the same time, everyone has a strong opinion on them. What's your take on it, Christopher?
The live action remakes?
Yes.
I personally, I find them completely unnecessary. I mean, Disney has this like incredible library with The Lion King and, you know, Beauty and the Beast and all these great films. I don't see the point in basically just recreating them in live action. I mean, some of these movies have, you know, few differences. I think Beauty and the Beast had a song or two that was different, and I think Lion King will probably have the same. But at the end of the day, they're the same movie, and it to me comes off as a cheap cash grab, and it's kind of at the expense of their legacy, and I'm against it. I am. I mean, I don't know. That's my view on it, but I'd rather them do original stories for the live action and leave their classics alone. But they make money, so they're gonna make them. They're gonna continue to make them, I guess.
I mean, my feeling is, Christopher, you're 100% right. It is a complete cash grab. That's what this is, right? Like, they're going to make money. That being said, I don't know. The Jungle Book, Beauty and the Beast, I like them. I like the movies a lot. And I guess I'm in a different spot in my life where I have a 6-year-old son who I take to see these movies right now. And I can experience it all through his eyes too. You know, all the things that I did when I was growing up, just in a little different way. That being said, if it was my choice, I wouldn't do them.
And Mindy?
Mindy's on mute.
No, I was just saying. Sorry, I keep sneezing, passengers. I've got a bad cold, so I'm trying not to like sneeze and hurt your ears. I don't know how I feel about that. I would like to hear some more. I don't know.
Well, Mindy, are you looking forward to, like, say, the Lion King movie or the Aladdin movie?
You know what? I am. I was kind of blown away with the Lion King trailer because I looked at it and I rewound it and I said, "Is this real?"
Did you watch the video with the old trailer and the new trailer back to back?
Side to side thing.
That was pretty cool.
unbelievable how good animation is. If you go back, think about watching Pandora for the first time. Do you remember going to see that film? Avatar. And I remember putting on my 3D glasses going, this looks so real. Like I was going, trying to touch the screen. And now I'm watching The Lion King and I'm like rubbing my eyes going, I cannot even tell if that is a real animal or not. And that's one thing, kind of where I was going into that same vein. That's the point. It's going to completely revive the entire Lion King attraction at Walt Disney World. And everybody's going to go see it. And they're going to put a new twist on it and take it that way. I think it all comes full circle with Disney. And they obviously have that figured out.
I will say this as far as like what the Lion King goes. The animation, the CGI, the crisp color of just the trailer alone looked amazing. My concern is I hope it's not shot for shot of the animated, but just in CGI. That's my only thing. I want to see some differences in it to make it original.
In which one? In Lion King?
In the Lion King, yeah. But I do hope that it is popular enough because as big as the Lion King is, I would love to see the Lion King integrated more into the parks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we have Festival of the Lion King at Animal Kingdom. As far as Disneyland, I don't think they have anything of Lion King, to my knowledge.
No. We had the Lion King parade back in like 94. That's about it.
That's why I seen it in theaters. So. Yeah, so my point.
So well, I'm sorry. One thing I just wanted to add was one plus side to these live action remakes is that it really does bring it to the next generation, and it does bring a new attention to the older films, because a lot of parents now are going to be like, the new Lion King movie's coming out. Let's watch the original together before we go see it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Definitely.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that is the one plus side of having like the live action, because it makes you revisit, back to the animation where, kids may not experience the animation until they see the live action.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good point.
I think my son has. He's definitely seen The Lion King, but it's not one of his like go-to movies. And I think you're onto something, Christopher. And I said it before. Like, now that I have a 6-year-old son, I think I'm in a different part of my life where I'm hoping he gets into that stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite Christmas gift that I got was for my son. He got me Scar socks. And on the back of this, I'm into like these fancy socks. I don't know. It's just one of those things. And on the back of it, it says his famous line, "I'm surrounded by idiots." It's on the sock. I think I can wear it at work and not let anyone know I'm wearing it. Great socks.
That's so great.
That being said, just one other thing though, just to touch upon, the movie that my family, like, we have a Disney movie, and it's Lilo and Stitch. That's our family movie. And now they announced that they're going to be doing a Lilo and Stitch movie. And that was the first time where I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Not that one. You got to be kidding me.
That one's going to be very interesting to see how to pull that one off. Well, passengers, it looks like it's about that time. We're pulling into the station. I want to thank Dan and Mindy for joining me on this ride. And Christopher, again, it's always a pleasure having you on. Please definitely come back on and join us.
I had a blast, and thank you guys so much for having me,
Yes,
George
definitely.
and Mindy. Thank you. Appreciate
Anytime,
it.
Christopher. I had a blast tonight.
And
anytime.
And before we leave, Christopher, if you want to one last time give our passengers some info on where they can find you.
Sure. I'm on YouTube, Orangegrove55. Come and check me out. I do videos about 2 or 3 times a week on Disney news, rumors, speculations, just get, down and dirty in the Disney nerd talk, and, everything from the parks to the movies. So.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, I think that's a good way to close this out. And remember, passengers, It's never a good day unless it's a Disney day. Have a good night.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tour Magical Ticket Holders. While on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tour Podcast, as well as Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to send us a message, you can email us at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule, make it good. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.